record?
Yes, ma'am, we are on.
Perfect. Thank you. Hello and welcome, Rana Daggubati, to yet another edition of Tiffin Talks. Thank you for joining us. You gave us quite a scare recently, Rana, with your, health issues.
It's not a recent thing. Yeah, it's done. It's in the past. I just spoke about it now. That's all.
Okay, but along with a life-changing decision, your marriage, and this quite a tumultuous time for you.
Well, first, I think the world is also in quite a crazy time, no? So,
Yes.
I just got to do it a little bit earlier than the world did. So it's chill. So that's done, yeah. It's done in the past. Now it's done. Now it's done. Now we're moving forward. We're back up and active.
Right, and very active, in fact, Rana, with South Bay. There's so much there, and I got the opportunity to watch and listen to your conversation with Ram Gopal Verma, which I thought was absolutely wonderful and hilarious. So, talk a little about the idea of South Bay and about your why are you?
Well, first to kind of begin with South Bay, I think. This was something that kept coming to me over the years of being an actor, being somebody who's been producing content in some ways or the other, right? Where there's always so much culture in India in different places, whether I work in Hyderabad, whether I work in Chennai, whether I come to Bombay. I think, and I got to see that firsthand. And there's so many content. I mean, when you see today, whether you watch the larger OTTs or any of them, you get to see so much of the Western influence that's curated, whether it's time in Germany, whether it's history in Europe, whether it's history in America. You get to see it in such a curated fashion, whether it's the evolution of their music or anything in that direction. But in India, which is probably the most in terms of a diverse cultural part, right? And today you see Indians not only in India, but just globally making such a different scene with what they do, whether it's rappers in America who are of Indian origin, whether it's rappers in Malaysia, whether it's actors the other way. So I think I was like, here you go, there is now today, the internet offers that opportunity where you can connect global Indians at one place. At the same time, there has always been a cultural divide in the industries because we've been divided as states by language. So it's just like a default setting, I think, in our DNA. So, okay, that's the Telugu industry, this is the Malayalam industry, this is the Hindi industry, right? But I think as an actor, I got to cross all those boundaries quite freely. And today, I've been doing it for a decade now. And today, it's a possibility for everyone, literally. And you have everyone in different parts of the world dreaming about the rest of the country watching their film. And I think the same with culture content. I think I just wanted to take that first mover space saying, here you go, no one's been making it, but there's such a huge fan base for all of it. And coming to why are you within of South Bay? So we said, we curated in the first slot of saying, whatever is relevant to culture, let's start curating it in that direction.
Right.
And so I picked first news as an item for South Bay.
Yeah.
Where today you have so much news happening. Everyone's watching the news, but it's all like politically like debated, or that's the only thing that's popping up, right?
Right.
And I said, now if I had to curate news for a millennial, if somebody who's growing up in India who's under the age of 25, I said, how do we make news relevant for them?
Yeah.
And so we started curating everything that's happening in the digital world. Whether it's esports, whether it's gaming, whether it's understanding politics and money in a way young people should understand it, not debate about it, but even just understand what else going on, right?
Right.
Just taking things in that direction and creating a millennial consumable palette, right? Not making it boring, but just finding the fun, quirkiest ways to tell this.
Right.
And like that, the other piece that we really picked after music, music became a big piece where we had two really big stars that are working with us. One is Raja Kumari, who's a rapper.
Oh, yes, she's fabulous.
She's fabulous. She's of Telugu origin and in America, in Los Angeles. So really gives a global perspective in terms of where culture is. So she's first worked on a version of Coolie #1, which is an old Telugu classic of Venkatesh and
Right.
Tappu. So she's got that version out, and we want to build a bunch of IPs along with her. Then Shruti Hassan was helping. We were helping put together a goth album, and she's producing that and a bunch of shows for OTT and for South Bay itself.
Right.
In the music space.
Right.
So I said, okay, now I have so many artists who are doing all of this.
Yeah.
I got to do something in terms of what my culture is.
Yeah.
And my culture really was animation, right? And that's something that I started off with even before I was an actor. And
Right.
now, though I didn't
Did
work,
you do a course in it, Rana, or did you learn on the job?
no, yeah, I learned on the job. So it just was handed down 15
Right.
years ago from somebody got a pirated version of something, and then we figured it out, and that's how animation happened.
Right.
But I used to run a visual effects company for many years before I was an actor.
Right.
Although I wasn't really in a business of animation anywhere in life, but I was always a fan of watching a lot of animation.
Right.
If, say, my childhood, if I dedicate that to an Amar Chitrakatha timeline, after growing up, Mad Comics was what kind of got my attention. And I think I got a global view of what happens in the world sitting in Hyderabad just because I read Mad Comics.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
So,
you're much younger than me, Rana, but it was the same with me, you know.
So, I mean, I never been to Russia, but I exactly know what goes on there. I never been to Germany, I know what goes on there.
Right.
In a fun way, because I don't have a real political opinion on it. We're apolitical because we're not from there.
Right.
Just the fact that I could consume culture of different parts of the world, languages that weren't mine, in the funniest manner possible. Right. To me, I said, if I had to do something like that today, and if I have to use elements of video and animation and all of it. See, in India, there was always at least for a audience perspective, right? In terms of content making, also this happens.
Right.
Where animation is always for children, and you just kept it that way.
Exactly.
And but then you have enough fans in India who watch South Park and BoJack Horseman and all of that.
Oh, absolutely.
Correct. So
as and anime as well. Huge.
Yes. So I said, let me pick that direction, and so picked a fiction-ish reality talk show where it's called Why Are You? Because it's existential. It's in this time of COVID and lockdowns and all of this. I think that's the first, or at some point that question hit everybody.
Yeah.
Right? Why we are here, what we are supposed to do, and we really became like people who controlled our own time, because it's just us deciding what we have to do as opposed to anything else.
Right.
I thought this was probably for me a best way to find a property which works. It's so it's it's an irreverent talk show in that format, and the idea is there's a fiction commentary going on in terms of whatever we want to talk in the fictional universe. So, and just marrying this is not ever possible on film or on OTT, or anybody will ask me to just walk out their door if I try to pitch this. So I said, let me just take this direction and go with this. Right. See, and the idea really was that whether it's me or any artist who's trying to make content or wants to curate any piece, whether it's music or art in any form, I think just breaking all those rules, whether it's to do with duration, whether it's to do with TG, whether it's to do with timeline. See, like, I mean, so many people most of the interviews that I had to answer was like, what is the TG, right? Yeah, I said, okay, there you go. I said, I like Mad Comics, you like Mad Comics. I said, by law, we don't belong to the same.
Exactly, right.
But if it's fun, it's fun, right? It doesn't matter what age group. So I said, anything post-teen all the way to 80, if you think you're cool, this is what cool stuff is, right?
Right.
And I said, let me create a precedent saying, here you go, this is language no bar. So if Ramu and I are talking Telugu, there's an old Premnagar Telugu song playing in the background.
Yeah.
I have Dingo who only talks in Punjabi in that direction.
Yeah.
But like in Dorana, one of the Ranas speaks in Telugu, but they understand each other well.
Right.
So I said, let me just break open a universe that we want to freely live as one country, and let's just unite it in terms of content, which is for me the easiest, right?
Right.
And so that's why are you? And I said and I think we got to a format where hopefully by Jan or mid of Jan we'll be able to do weeklies,
Wow.
and that's the speed that we want to be at, right?
Right.
If you see any of these shows, whether it's The Simpsons, whether it's South Park, all of these have episodes that are so large because it's been coming for years, and the idea is we should be able to do it for a long time.
Right.
Then I think unless an artist picks something he likes or he or she likes, it's very close to them, they won't be able to do it uh, uh, forever, right? So I think that's really what South Bay is, and that's why are you.
No, it's fabulous. And let me go back a little to South Bay, and then we'll go back to curating of news. I find that also quite fascinating, because the traditional idea is that young people do not exactly watch news, but they consume a hell of a lot of news, but through their own universes. Somebody consumes it through gold.com, somebody consumes it through some other website, but they know exactly what's going on in the world. But I want to go back a little to Why Are You and talk a little about the tone of it. It is, as you said, very irreverent, but at the same time, it's actually also quite political, because it makes a lot of political statements, and it makes, the idea of freedom of speech and expression that really comes through. For instance, when Ramu talks about porn, and you ask him exactly which kind of porn. I mean, all that is very political in its content. Talk a little about that, and how digital actually liberates you from that fear of censorship or self censorship as well. Because more than censorship, it's self censorship, I think.
Correct. See, I'm saying you kind of nailed it like that. And see, what is self censorship? Right?
Yeah.
See, now there is a culture where you want to send whether I'm saying, see, there's all of this is like commentary on culture, right? See, what is content? If the world disappears one day and people find tapes and movies and say, okay, this is probably how they lived, or this is probably how a generation is, right? So I think today, as just as where we are in terms of the economic landscape, right? I think there was no better time for content to take a front seat, right? Really, what probably oil and railroads did to the third or second industrial revolution. I think this is what in the fourth industrial revolution, it's content that took that front seat, and it's going in all directions.
Which
Whether
Yuval Noah Harari, of course, famously said, data is the new oil.
yeah, there you go. I'm saying take in that direction, right? And content, whether you're a creator who's trying to make a spectacle that goes to big cinemas, that goes to IMAX, 3Ds, all of that, or whether you're a creator of a GIF pack, right? I think all of it today is possible in the freest manner that you can. So I think it's if we are somebody who's been in the film business, in the entertainment business for so long, I think first it's a responsibility for us to say, here you go, these are the different formats that are available in terms of what you can do. See, because one is there's obviously lots of platforms offering distribution methods, but it's very few that help you, teach you, create, and mentor you to become a better storyteller, right? So I think first it addresses that point for me in terms of taking this format itself. And today taking to me when we started writing this show, right? And it was so strange in terms of, if you just look at Twitter and what's trending, you just even wonder where am I living, right? What's the trend that's even going on? So which is why there's a trending tower that's there, right? Now, how do you trend on something? Only if you say something bad, you're just up there, somebody's hating you, and that's it. You get on top like in 1 second. It doesn't even take very long.
Yeah.
If I make a really good, honest film, it's going to take me forever to even make it to top 10. Right? How much ever of a mainstream star I am.
Absolutely.
So I said, if that's the universe, somebody needs to mirror that and say, here you go, guys. This is what's happening, right? Let's laugh about it, but at some point address it, no? And say, what are we doing for ourselves about it? See, I think every single one of us, whether you're in the position you are or I'm in the position that I am, have some responsibility to do within our job scope, right? If
Right.
content is my job, I need to make content and educate or tell people, here you go, this is where the world is. It's and you can consistently freely make stuff. Today, it's the digital world, right? I'm saying
Right.
whether you can put laws on things that are supposed to be curated for public. It's ticketed. It's a business. There's a ecosystem to that. But the minute you're in the free world of the internet, I think
Right.
there's no stopping whether you're a curator, uh, good, bad, whichever direction you want to take.
Right.
And I think we mostly as a country are heading towards a direction of 140 characters, right? Because I can quickly say I hate you, or
Right.
I hate you because of your last article, but that doesn't mean anything
Right.
unless I'm able to explain it in a fashion. Here you go, this is why I actually don't agree to the fact that you made this decision.
Right.
So it's just a way of putting it. I think there's a cultural way of doing it. I think there's some things we can take from the West in that sense, where there was always a freedom of speech, whether they don't like somebody who's reporting in their district, or whether it's somebody
Yeah.
as top as the president of that nation.
Yeah.
They can very freely speak about what's going on.
Yeah.
So uh, I think that's really where this comes from. And if you go back, see, you were a Mad fan too.
Yeah.
See, that's what it did to the world, right? And today, whether it's inspired a generation of artists, cartoonists, writers, journalists, I think across the board, it inspired people to take up fields that they never saw or never knew.
Imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And mixing it, however, Rana, with the Amar Chitrikatha sensibility as well, which is also very important, isn't it? When you talk about making a film on Hiranyakashipu, for instance, just the fact that you're choosing something like that is so fantastic. Explaining it to a new generation, what is this? Who is it? Why is he so important? So it's a mixing in a way of the mad sensibility and the Amar Chitrikatha sensibility, which a lot of young Indians have, but are unable to find that
Right.
balance. So, is South Bay really about that balance, or is that important?
See, one is it's two things here, right? See, one is, let's talk about Amar Chitragatha in that direction.
Yes.
See, when I think, see, one clearly there was a today. If I'm somebody in India, most people my age, at least, who read about Indian culture in an English language, is probably Amar Chitragatha and nothing
Yes.
else.
Yeah.
And I can speak for myself, where most of India's culture, gods, religion, everything that I know comes purely from there. And after that, as I grew up, interest grew and
Interest.
started
Yeah.
learning the other thing.
Right.
But really, that was the first exposure.
Yeah.
And I think what Uncle Pai did back in his day is curated culture in the best manner that can be palpable to everybody from 8 to 80.
Right.
Like literally everybody across the board caught on to that very fast.
Yeah.
And I think today we come to a digital age where everything is video, everything is now can become 4-dimensional, can become VR, can become really anything you want. And the idea is now to develop a 360 alongside ACK, where being Hiranyakashipu and others being top spectacle-based films that will lead from the front. Today, all the comics are available on digital format on the app and others. So there is a animation and a graphic novel arm that's being built out as we speak. So the idea is to find the best possible manner where today's generation understands or can pick those stories.
Right.
See, I think there was we grew the 80s and the 90s really took the direction of devotion, right, in terms of telling these stories. And today that really doesn't work with young people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they don't buy that in that direction.
Yeah.
And which is why you see more and more kids becoming atheists, or they don't start
Yeah,
believing.
exactly. I was about to say, Rana, most of them identify themselves as atheists,
Yeah. See, because it doesn't come to them as a story in a sense they understand it. Right?
Yeah.
In a sense they understand it, or in the sense they understand values like that.
Right.
So I think it's as storytellers, for us, it's find the right way for each age group, find the right way where these stories, the Vedas, can be retold again in a manner that a global audience will start receiving it.
Right.
Right. So if a global audience has to receive it, so it's easier for us to say it because they're not looking at it in a direction of devotion at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
For them, it has to come as a story, come as a mythology, and that's what takes it. So that's the ACK direction of things.
Yeah.
And everything else, whether it's like India always had a difference between what was subculture and what was mainstream.
Yeah.
Right. And whether it's music, mainstream music was very different and subculture was very, very different.
Right.
And the idea was, I said, now it's time that all the worlds have married. It's time to marry this world too.
Right.
And that was really the idea of working with people like whether Shruti, myself, or Lakshmi, or all of them who've been with us now, or every single one that we've interviewed also. The idea is everyone's mainstream in every which way, but it's taking that first plunge and saying, here you go, let's do the most alternative thing that we like and are very passionate about, right? And that's where the direction started.
Right.
And it's really one platform that whether you're an A-list movie star or whether you're an independent talent, the deal is the same. You own the IP forever. You are able to curate or make content that is completely your sense of of art, really.
Right.
And really the expression can be anything. As I said, see, now we're just curating things with pop culture because we're sitting on the top as curators.
Right.
But I think the direction of where this will take will be the content creators who will start working with us and putting stuff forth.
Right. So, as of now, South Bay has how many elements? News, music, talk shows.
Yes, and now we also have a quiz segment
Okay.
that's starting off soon.
Okay.
And there will be a lot of other music and culture-based things which are very regionally connected.
Right.
The idea of curating the region in a way that the globe sees it and the region can view it.
Right.
That's the next lot of things that we'll start putting up.
Right. Talk a little about news, Rana. I know we don't have much time, but just a little about news and how it's being curated and who are the curators. I find that very interesting as a journalist.
So one is I'm working with Under 25 as a team based out of Bangalore.
Okay.
Anto, who's the anchor and the host of that show. So they've been working as a group and a network for over 7 or 8 years now.
Okay.
I think curating direction for and events for people who are under 25 in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of goals, money, objectives, and that kind of direction. So one is the idea was to work with them because they're right in the network. They're probably over a 5 or 6 lakh student network that are within colleges.
Right.
So the news is being curated by children who are studying journalism, young students who are studying journalism. I think so to get the news from within campuses, bring it to the heartbeat of what's really relevant to them, right?
Right.
See, I think often what happens is whether you're a journalist or a filmmaker, once you start getting into your job, you start going further and further away from the people that you are trying to speak with, right? And I think to cut that slack off is where we started working with Under 25. And also a direction that I've taken pretty much in the company is we want to get as many people under the age of 25 to start working with us. Because I don't want to become like a dinosaur very soon and saying, look at this old guy trying to make some cool things. Okay?
That's the saddest thing, Rana.
So,
and young people are so derisive of old people trying to be cool, no?
So I said, before I get into that direction, let's just work. And see, unless you start working with them, right?
Yeah.
No way you understand what's relevant anymore.
Right.
So you play a video game by yourself, you think you're great at it. You play it with them, you think you're terrible at it. So direction changes, right? In terms of where you've gone.
Right. Great. So you have Under 25 doing that. Do you have any others curating news for you?
Right now, it's Under 25. It's that because it's networked very well across the country from colleges. See, and also the reason of South Bay is that if you can, mostly news is directed at a Delhi central and kind of comes out to all of us. So here it's like, here you go. If it's news that we want to start curating young news in a hyper local level. Right. If this is news from Kakinada city, here you go. This is news from Mysore. This is what's happening in a college in Mysore.
Right.
Unless we're able to do that, there's no fun in connecting people.
Absolutely.
So that's the direction we've taken for the news section.
Right.
Yeah.
And a couple of last questions, Rana. How important is the celebrity aspect of it? Is it important to sort of use celebrities to sell this idea? Does it get sold quicker?
See, one is one to answer your question. Yes, it does. But really, the direction is, see, one is I spoke about marrying mainstream and commercial,
Yeah.
Or mainstream and subculture, really. And once there are a lot of mainstream people doing things that are cool and alternative, it's because of there's so many people, whether it's their fans or others, who subscribe to their lifestyle or subscribe to their style of content. Right? I think it just will inspire a lot more people to take that direction.
Absolutely.
That's the first thing. And as I started making YRUs, when I realized this is probably the easiest platform for us to start working alongside all kinds of creators.
Right.
In fact, I just sent out a promo about half an hour ago to a influencer community called Big Bang. Now, there are about 5,000 creators, content creators and storytellers that they have. Now, I said, now it's easiest for me to, I said, no, you cast them for videos back, and it's easiest for me to connect with the top 50 curators and say, here you go, the next episode, all of you are in with me.
Right.
So it gives like somebody who's from a full mainstream world to say, here you go, these are the new cool kids on the internet, and let's do something together. Right?
Wonderful.
I think that freedom is what it really gives us.
And I saw little Papa Kejo peeking out from behind Dingo, I think, in Ramu. Is there some little element of sort of salute to Karan Johar? Because in a way he did begin this whole idea of celebrity intimacy, as it were.
Well, see, I think if it's pop culture relevant, right? I think nobody stands more in forefront than Karan does in all of Bombay, right?
Absolutely.
So I think making a show in that direction without him in it is a crime.
Right. And last question: who is the voice of Dingo?
Who's the voice of Dingo? That's something I want you all to keep guessing for a little bit.
I have a feeling it could be you putting on an accent.
You think so?
Yeah, I have a feeling, and I think it's a very good accent.
Okay, then let's figure this out. Let's keep going.
But I like him. I think he's a very interesting, independent sort of fellow.
Yeah.
What breed is he?
He's actually Australian.
Huh.
Many people think he's a dog, but it's actually a half fox, half dog. That's what dingoes are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens?
You know, in Calcutta, when we were growing up, which was a long time ago, dingoes was a pejorative term used for Anglo-Indians.
Oh, really?
Because,
of course. Yes, of course.
Because most of them went off to Australia eventually, so they were all called dingoes.
Okay, so this is literally the animal, the dingo.
Right. So why did you choose him, Rana?
See, I'm saying it's easiest. He's like I wanted attitude in some ways, right? And you get an attitude only when you pick an animal that's half either side,
right,
and easy to be mistaken for.
Right.
So I was like, here you go, this is the guy.
So in a way, he represents your mainstream and subculture.
He's the man, right? See, he's the audience really in that sense. Right. Like, dude, what's going on? Right? So I think the perspective of Dingo is very, very important to the show, and what we started doing is we also have snacky pieces of content that will keep coming on Dingo's page by himself. So it's easiest to connect with fans, audiences, if you have a character that's out there.
Is he an insider or is he an outsider?
He's a halfway there guy.
He's half.
Yeah, he's a halfway there guy. He's an outsider who worked in the inside for so long, he doesn't know if he's an insider or an outsider.
Okay. Absolutely last question, Rana. What are those at the back, those artworks?
So the
and what's all that? Yeah.
What's all that? So the two big artworks are the Batman Ninja. It's a new anime series of Batman that's out, which is very, very cool. And the other things are, one is there's a lightsaber that's from my 10th grade.
Yeah.
When I went to the US.
Right.
Right next to that, the giant one is the mace is Bhallaldeva's mace
Right.
and Bhallaldeva's sword.
They allowed you to take it.
Yeah, this is the first piece. So I have the first piece
Okay.
of this. The rest of it is in the museum.
Okay. And
Then there's action figurines of Bahubali and Bhalladeva and all of the characters from Star Wars.
oh, wow. So it's a mix. Again, it's a mix of your two worlds.
Yes. And if you slightly go up, that's George Lucas actually. You can only see half of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's your little god.
Yeah, I guess. No, I mean, here you go. I grew up watching Star Wars, and I said, you got to figure out how that man made it in the 70s. You might as well figure it out in 2021.
So in a way, you're a product of George Lucas meets Uncle Pie.
Dang, I love that. I love that. Just, I guess, yeah. Yeah, see, I think those are probably the two most influential people in a person I've never met. I guess that's whether it's through films and comics, they kind of touched me in probably the places that nobody else would. Right?
And why is it called South Bay? Absolutely last question.
Absolutely. Why is it called South Bay? Well, earlier always everything that was mainstream was curated out of Bombay.
Yeah.
First, you go the other direction of Bombay, South Bay. But so that's really where it came out from.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Rana. It was such a pleasure. And I wish you all success. And I'm going to watch each and everything and try to be very cool.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.